Special thanks to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring today's video. Armed now with the knowledge of what happens in the 1000-Year Blood War Arc Part 3, with how the first half of the Varvelt arc has been adapted and how the anime has implemented new scenes so far, what can we expect to see added to Cour 4 in the future? We know it's coming, we just don't know when, but we've already got plenty to be excited about. Now, I am a little late to this again, so I apologise, but having finally finished my coverage of Part 3, if you haven't seen the holistic review of the Cour I just released a couple of days ago, well, I said that Cour 3 was the best of the bunch so far. It's now time to look to the future next. About a month ago now, Kubo himself joined a TikTok live discussion with some of the principal cast members where they briefly discussed Cour 4. And unsurprisingly, Kubo wasn't able to say much, but he did drop a tantalising little teaser, and that's what we're going to discuss today. And so in today's video, we're going to take a look at what totally new content we could realistically see in the 1000-Year Blood War Arc Part 4, The Calamity. And while technically this is going to be presented in no particular order, I'm going to categorise these potential events and scenarios by how likely I think it is we'll see them, ranging from fairly likely to downright wishful thinking. So without further ado, let's take a look at what Kubo himself said. However, before we get started on the video, guys, there will of course be major spoilers for the final section of the 1000-Year Blood War arc to follow as we take a look at everything we think could be included here, using of course the context of what we know is still left to come. And if you enjoyed this video by the time you finished with it, then make sure to hit subscribe down below as well and help the channel reach its next major milestone of 300,000 subs. I really would appreciate it, and I do greatly appreciate all of the support. And if you haven't done yet, make sure to check out my second channel, Mr. Tomo Talks Games. Maybe hit subscribe over there as well if you like what you see. We're trying to reach 10,000 subs by the end of January. So again, your support would be greatly appreciated in trying to reach that goal. Regardless of whether you subscribe or not, I'm just grateful that you're here, so thank you very much, and let's get on with the video. So, the crux of this video stems from a tweet detailing some of what Kubo said during the livestream. The tweet comes from a user called 3Z_0Q0Q, who actually translated the entire section where Kubo mentions the fourth Cour, so thank you very much for that. And during this section of the video, Kubo says, and I quote, "Well, there's nothing I can say about the fourth Cour just yet, but the fact there's nothing I can say should tell you something about what to expect. You know, regarding the fourth Cour, when watching anime, people might feel like, oh, I've never seen this before. Like, this wasn't in the original story, or wait, I don't know this part of Bleach. And yes, in the fourth Cour, there will be entire episodes where people might be like, I've never seen this." So, entire episodes, huh? That's a pretty big deal, especially considering we've got, what, only 13 or 14 episodes left to play with? It makes me wonder if enormous chunks of the narrative might be changed, but honestly that's too big to really consider for this video. This video is going to be looking at specifically new scenes and events that I think might happen, although I guess naturally we will discuss some significant narrative changes too. Anyway, with that context, let's begin by looking at the picks that I think are the most likely to happen based on what we've seen and what we know so far. And again, outside of that categorization, these are in no particular order. Up first, we have a brand new flashback detailing the shared history, and perhaps even the first meeting of Kisuke Urahara and Yoruichi Shihoin, which will almost certainly appear during their battle with Askin, likely to be one of the opening events of the Cour. Kubo has said in the past that he would like to show their backstory, and even had it all drawn up in early stages, but it never made it into the manga. It seems extra conspicuous too, considering both Mayuri and Nemu and Kyoraku and Nanao received hefty backstories in the fights that immediately preceded Kisuke and Yoruichi's, and then suddenly we got nothing in their fight. So I'd absolutely expect to see this in Cour 4. Next up is a totally new, or at least totally rewritten fight between Gerard and the Vizard, which, as of the finale, we know is going to happen. To some degree, at least. We're at least hoping it will happen. The anime so far has been pretty self-aware, I'd say, in regards to the Vizard in Varvelt, and I'm anticipating that that will continue. I have a full video on this potential fight coming in the very near future, but for now, it's safe to say I'm excited about the prospect of the Vizard actually getting to do something that isn't them immediately being destroyed. No matter what, Shinji has already lasted longer here than he did in the manga, so everything with him is brand new. Like I said in my episode review, there is always that tiny chance that when we next see them, half of them will have already been defeated off screen, but I am really just hoping that that isn't the case. But speaking of the Vizard getting an extended fight sequence, well, next up, what about some new bankai? Everyone loves that. I'd be amazed if the anime ended without another totally new bankai to show, and there are a few options here, specifically some options that I think are the most likely. And I've saved at least one bankai for later in the video too, where things get a little sketchier. Perhaps the most likely new bankai, in my opinion, is also the least exciting of the bunch, but a new bankai all the same, and that's Aikawa Love and his Zanpakuto Tengumaru. In the manga, Love is one-shotted alongside the other Vizard by Gerard, but here, well, he's technically outlasted that sequence now, and if given the chance to fight Gerard properly, I'm betting we'll see a bankai reveal from him. Love remains the only Vizard captain to have not yet shown off his bankai, so here's hoping he's due. One step up from Love's bankai is Isshin's bankai, which is definitely a lot more exciting, possibly slightly less likely to happen, but we could see it all the same, and well, that leads nicely into my next point. Isshin and Ryuken get involved in the Battle of Varvelt in a bigger way this time around. By which I mean the anime gives them an entirely new subplot. Now, as of episode 40, the two fathers have arrived at the site of the final battle already, meaning they've appeared about 12 or 13 chapters earlier than they do in the manga, primed and ready to get involved in what's going on. Think about it, the Gerard fight hasn't even really begun yet here in the anime, whereas by the time Isshin arrives in the manga, it's actually all but over. The anime has been doing a wonderful job of building up their simmering revenge plotline, and now it's time to use these characters in a new, more effective way. But what could we see from them realistically? Well, either they get involved in separate fights, perhaps Isshin rejoins his former squad mates Hitsugaya and Rangiku in the battle against Gerard. Now that we've actually seen Rangiku, she's around, hey, maybe that's what the ominous shot of Rangiku was hinting at, while Ryuken joins Uryu against Hashwolf, or maybe the two fathers make a direct line for Yhwach himself. Maybe only Isshin heads for Yhwach and links up with Ichigo, Orihime and Chad. Either way, against Yhwach or Gerard, there's plenty of opportunity for Isshin to reveal his bankai. Ryuken going straight to Yhwach makes less sense to me, as ostensibly he's here to give Uryu the arrowhead, and well, he can't really do that if he's busy fighting the Quincy King. The only thing that gives me pause about potentially seeing Isshin's bankai is that the tease of Isshin's bankai in Everything But the Rain was completely omitted here in the anime, so maybe they were covering their tracks early on and just scrubbing all mention of it so as not to raise any hopes, but I don't know, we'll wait and see. Next we have the new sequence I still perhaps want to see the absolute most, despite banging on about it now for, 3 whole cours, and that's a full flashback, unadulterated, uncut, for the Soul King himself. I've placed it here in the most likely section, partially out of delusion, but also because I really think this could easily be one of the entirely new episodes that Kubo was talking about. Now, the flashback would not be from the Soul King's perspective. It would almost certainly be from Yhwach's perspective, and that's absolutely fine. I just want to see Adnias as he was, properly, in the flesh. No distortion, no distant shots, no obfuscation. I just want to see the Soul King in clarity. I want to see the primordial world. I want to see his fall. All of that. everything that has been teased so far from Cour 2 up until this point played out before us with no tricks, no games, just straightforward footage. And then, by using Yhwach's perspective, maybe that then transitions into his appearance in the human world, leading right up to his defeat at the hands of Yamamoto. While the anime has already fleshed out some aspects of Yhwach's past and character more than the manga ever did, there are still major questions to be had, and this is how to solve them. And really, I do think the anime is building to this. In Cour 2, Ichigo saw visions of the Soul King's history of his fall, and in Cour 3, we were treated to actual shots of he and Yhwach from all that time ago, that seemed to lead into not only the Soul King splitting the worlds and then his own fall from power, but also Yhwach being thrust into the cycle of rebirth. I'd love to see all of that actually playing out before our eyes fully, with no cuts, nothing like that, just show me the flashback. And so now with Cour 4 incoming, it is time to seal the deal for good, I think, and lift the lid on Bleach's longest enduring mystery. Next, we have another scenario that was possibly teased in the finale, though as of right now it is impossible to say what will come of it, if anything at all. And that's a reunion of the Fullbringers, which I do have here in the most likely category. Unlike the Vizard, whose reunion has already been explicitly shown on screen, like I said, this one is merely hinted at, thanks to the new scene where we see Riruka and Yukio heading to Kukaku's residence, looking to recruit Ginjo, Tsukishima and Giriko to the cause. Yes, I imagine Giriko won't be forgotten this time around. But what will they do? I don't think that the Fullbringers will be given the same kind of treatment that the Vizard are, in the sense that they get to fight a major enemy, but I do think they will do something. Will Ginjo and Tsukishima really just head straight to Varvelt, or is there a chance they will get to do some fighting beforehand? And let's go crazy here. Imagine if both Jackie and Shishigiwara also returned. Even without her Fullbring, Jackie could still be smacking those Lille Flamingos around. But wait, I hear you say. Izuru is already fighting the Lille Flamingos, isn't he? Well, we'll talk about that one a bit later in the video, but for now I could definitely see the coming together of Execution one more time for the final showdown. This next one has been discussed before plenty of times, and I have a video in the works about it as well to go really kind of in depth. But of course, following the trend of reworking these final fights, a brand new battle between Uryu and Hashwolf simply has to be in the works. With the finale to Part 3 really teasing this Quincy showdown, which has been a long time coming, I'm really hoping for something special here. Of course, Uryu now has his Quincy Volston dish, something that simply did not exist in the manga, so here's hoping the anime goes all out on delivering something spectacular. After all, they will basically have to concoct the fight from scratch. Again, something I'll delve into in a separate video. And the final pick I have for this first most likely section is another one that was teased in the finale, and that is a full flashback detailing what happened in Karakura Town all those years ago. What happened to Uryu when Yhwach's Ausweilen hit? Why was he affected when, as far as we're concerned, he wasn't supposed to have been? And what followed that caused Katagiri to die instead? Again, this could all tie into Yhwach's own flashback, to be honest, but regardless, we need just that little bit more, that final step to really solidify the importance of the Ishida family bloodline in this arc once and for all. Before we continue on to our middle of the road picks, not likely but not impossible, first a word from today's sponsor. Well, 2025 is upon us, and Tokyo Treat and Sakurako have teamed up with me again to help you ring in the new year in the best possible way, with their latest snack boxes, helping you to kickstart the year by experiencing the traditions of a New Year's in Japan from the comfort of your own home. Celebrate Oshogatsu, the Japanese New Year, with Tokyo Treat's New Year's Treatings theme. A fun and exclusive Japanese snack subscription box, Tokyo Treat is filled with a variety of sweet and savoury Japanese snacks, such as limited edition Kit Kats, seasonal treats, and occasional Japanese sodas, which are only available in Japan for a limited time. To help get your 2025 off to a great start, this month's box comes packed with strawberry chocolate cake flavour Kit Kats, Hokkaido smoked butter chips, and more. A nice little New Year's greetings card. There are the aforementioned Kit Kats. Let's give one of those a try now. As has been mentioned numerous times, I am a fiend for chocolate, so strawberry chocolate cake sounds like a pretty good mix to me. That's good. Strawberry, chocolate, all rolled into one. A classic combination. What's not to love? I like the look of this guy. He's quite imposing, and he looks to be a gummy, so let's check it out. They have like an elaborate locking mechanism. Look at that. And then I assume you just peel. Ooh, that's about the coolest, most high-tech way of opening a snack I've ever seen in my life. There we go. They're cute. Look at the little designs on them. I like that a lot. They're all mini Darumas. That's really cool. There he is. Meanwhile, Sakurako's theme this month is New Year's in Japan. Filled with traditional sweets and savoury treats that symbolise hope, luck and prosperity for the year ahead, Sakurako's box helps you experience Japan's most cherished holiday through authentic flavours. And such treats include a New Year's senbei, red and white plum kohakuto, and of course a yuzu sencha tea. And of course, when drinking your tea, make sure to use this month's special tableware item 2, a traditional fabric Nishijin Ori coaster, which looks really lovely and is such nice quality as well. That's an awesome looking design. Right, so we are going for the biggest bag of the bunch. We're going for the strawberry daifuku. Mochi on the outside, strawberry on the inside. Very good. Lots of strawberry this month. And finally, let's dig into the immaculately presented and aforementioned red and white plum kohakuto. And this is really immaculate looking as well. A very nice floral design. That's just really great attention to detail. It has a sort of brittle texture to the outside, which I wasn't expecting at all, but once you've broken through that, it's very refreshing on the inside. Like I said, very, very tasty. As you probably know by now, each box also comes with a cultural guide booklet that tells you a little more about the snacks you receive each month, as well as detailing that all-important allergen information. But that's it for January's New Year's boxes. They always give you so much stuff in these. They're absolutely filled to the brim. As always, I want to say a big thank you to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for supporting the channel by sponsoring today's video. I don't even know where to put these. Now, if you want to pick up one or both of these boxes, either for yourself or for someone you know to help celebrate the new year, then make sure to visit the links down in the description and the pinned comment and use my code TOMO for $5 off your purchase. Thanks very much everyone, enjoy, and of course, Happy New Year. Right, and so moving on, these next picks find themselves, like I said, somewhere in the middle. I don't think they are particularly likely to happen, I certainly wouldn't call them a lock, but I also don't think they're impossible either. Okay, so earlier we talked about the return of Execution, but you know who else is hanging out with Execution? Another character who was conspicuously absent from, well, almost all of the final arc, Kukaku Shiba. I could absolutely see her, and hopefully even Jidanbo too, making their way up to Varvelt to get involved in the final battle. Here's the scenario as it plays out in my head. What if Chad really does continue onto Yhwach throne room with Ichigo and Orihime, leaving Ganju to fight the animated statues alone, when suddenly Kukaku and Jidanbo arrive to help her little brother out? It's not exactly a fight we need to see a lot of, but it would be amazing for them to get one last moment in the sun. Again, I don't think it's necessarily a guarantee, but I also don't think it's out of the question either, hence why it falls here in the video. So, remember how I mentioned earlier that the Fullbringers could be dealing with the Lille Flamingos in the Seirete? Well, that's because Izuru has found himself busy with a new, unexpected opponent. Next up on the list here, I have included the Izuru vs Shaz Domino battle from the short story The Beginning of the Revive of Tomorrow. Honestly, I was debating whether or not to put this squarely in the unlikely section of the video, but I will give it the benefit of the doubt and include it here. Essentially, in this supplementary story, we learn that the resurrected Izuru battled Shaz, eventually besting the weird pseudo-sternritter before helping out in the battle with Leal. Now, of course, as with the manga, there has been no indication whatsoever that Shaz actually survived Ichigo's strike in episode 7, meaning he remains, just like in the manga, one of the arc's strangest loose ends. When Gremmy spoke of creating life, the anime showed Gwenael and neglected to show Shaz, meaning that to those who have no idea of the contents of the supplementary material, Shaz is, well, an outlier, an anomaly, a total mystery. But you could probably get away with having him randomly show up to confront Izuru here in the anime, give him a spiel where he monologues a bit about himself, the truth behind his survival, all of that sort of thing, or not. I'm really unsure about this one, but I do think it's conspicuous, to say the least, that the anime cut the entire second half of Izuru's scene from episode 40. Now, it's totally possible that Izuru just never shows up again and they just cut it all because of time constraints, but the way that sequence plays out in the episode makes it feel, to me at least, as though it's being left on a cliffhanger that they plan on returning to, but who knows? Next up, though, we have some novel content that I actually think is more likely to make it into the anime than Izuru vs. Shaz, and that's Rukia and Renji's wedding from We Do Not Always Love You. I'm still not confident about it, hence its placement here in the video, but I definitely don't think it's a pipe dream. It's a fully fleshed out portion of the story, and I think it's something that could easily be incorporated into the anime to help the epilogue feel more substantial. Right now, if the anime copies the manga's ending verbatim, it's gonna feel extremely jarring. I'd personally love to see more of a direct aftermath to the war itself, including Renji and Rukia's wedding, but speaking of a direct aftermath, well, that leads me into my next point. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the anime adapt the prologue specifically to Can't Fear Your Own World. Even if the anime decanonizes the rest of the novel entirely and goes out of its way to not include any of it, which I'm not saying it is doing, by the way, I'd love to at least see these early scenes brought to life. Aizen being imprisoned once more after speaking with Hisagi, Kyoraku and Ichibei talking about the new Soul King, and the surviving Espada returning to Wako Mundo, having rescued Harubel. This is all crucial stuff that really should have been in the manga, and you simply can't end such a massive war on an immediate time jump. It's just way too jarring. In particular, Ichibei's scene with the now deceased Yhwach Bark really needs to be here, simply to answer the question of who is the new Soul King. Honestly, the fact the manga left that up in the air was always a really glaring omission. After Yhwach Bark's supposed death at the hands of Ichigo, the worlds should have been falling apart again, but it just never happened and it was never explained. And also this scene sheds more light on Ichibei's sinister backup plan regarding Ichigo himself. Next up, we have perhaps the most nebulous pick on this list, and that's a totally reworked final fight. I have no idea really what this actually means at the outset, but I wouldn't be surprised to see more people involved and a very different feeling battle with Yhwach Bark himself at the very end of the story here. Let's get a bunch of different characters partaking in this battle to really up the stakes. Everyone is fighting tooth and nail to bring Yhwach Bark down on the cusp of his master plan's completion. Again, something that has been highlighted a lot here in the anime already. And what about the conclusion? For example, if Uryu really does have a new plan, since the whole thing about him spreading chips across Varvelt has been cut from the anime, that involves his own power in some way, then it seems likely to me that the way he ultimately delivers the still silver arrow could be changed. Maybe he will be actively involved in the fight from the beginning. Hell, what if the still silver arrow straight up does not work here in the anime, forcing Yhwach Bark to be killed in a different way? I don't really know how, but that's a move that would absolutely throw people off. You would not see it coming. The same goes for Ichigo's bankai. Can we expect any substantial changes to the way his bankai is shown off here? The teaser trailer for the Calamity revealed that his bankai is at least initially going to look the same and will still be broken in two. A lot of people have said they want to see Ichigo using his bankai to its full potential, only for that to turn out to be Yhwach's vision of the future before he breaks Ichigo's bankai in half. And I absolutely could see something like that happening. That's a really neat solution. And then there's Aizen. Could we see his bankai here in the final battle too? This is my other new bankai reveal that I consider less likely than the previous two mentioned, but also not impossible. I kind of have a feeling that the amount of new bankai we could potentially see here in Cour 4 really is contingent on how serious Kubo is about the Hell Arc, on whether or not he's actually already writing and drawing it and maybe has those bankai revealed there instead. If he isn't doing anything with the Hell Arc, which would be a monumental shame, then yeah, I think more bankai will be revealed here in Cour 4, as this is ostensibly the last time we'll ever get to see them. Certainly some of the absolute most anticipated and requested, like Aizen's. The final pick for this section of the video is another one that is really weird, and right now it's hard to see where the anime is going with this, but it's certainly going somewhere unexpected, and that's the fate of Ukitake. For the Hell chapter to make sense, Ukitake has to die, yet the anime has absolutely been making a point of his survival long after he dies in the manga. Here in the anime, Ukitake and Mimihagi have both stuck around for the entire first half of the war in Varvelt, with Mimihagi seemingly continuing to hold the worlds together even after Yhwach gained the power of the Soul King. So, what's the deal, and what's going to happen? Maybe Ukitake is going to actually survive the Kamikake and get involved in the fight somehow, only to die afterwards. Could we realistically see his bankai in the upcoming Cour? What's more likely to happen though, in my opinion, because I really don't think there's much left of Ukitake anymore, is that Mimihagi is gearing up for one final strike. With its power technically connected to Yhwach's own, I wonder if there is something else. One last-ditch effort that Ukitake and Mimihagi could make together to seriously hamper Yhwach's progress at the 11th hour. An effort so great that ultimately it kills Ukitake and destroys Mimihagi's power within him. With the anime's newfound emphasis on Yhwach actually trying to achieve his goal, what if we see him about to collapse the worlds, the heroes are too late, when suddenly Mimihagi's shadowy power overtakes the Quincy King, engulfing him, restraining him, and somehow setting his plan back in a huge way? Maybe this gives Yhwach an actual reason to leave for the Soul Society, or hell, what if that is his reason? What if he realizes Mimihagi is still around and interfering, and so begrudgingly has to return to the Seirete in order to fully destroy the right arm, which is where the final battle takes place. But finally we arrive at my most drastic picks. These are very unlikely, frankly next to impossible, though I think still within the realm of reason, and would potentially be really cool to see. First up is a pretty simple one, and that's flashbacks for some of the sternritter. I really would love to learn more about the Schutzstaffel in particular, but it just does not seem like it's going to happen. My boy Askin deserves a flashback, but I just don't think he's getting one at all. It does seem like Kubo is making a concerted effort to make it impossible to sympathise with most of these villains, which I do think makes sense on the surface, but it's a shame when you really do want to know more about them. That being said, only one of the Schutzstaffel is actually dead so far, so there is still a sliver of a chance that we do actually get some flashbacks for these villains in Cour 4. Up next, things take a turn for the truly dramatic. This is very unlikely to happen, but I would love for something to come of those weird Soldat shades that were introduced at the end of the last Cour. While it seems like they've been pretty handily dismissed so far, I feel like the natural endgame for weird creatures like that is pretty obvious. It's a chance for Yhwach to resurrect the dead sternritter for one final battle. Of course, they wouldn't really be the sternritter, instead they'd be faceless, shadowy versions of them, but I really think it would work. Need to give the Gote's forces or their allies someone else to fight? Legions of shadowy sternritter would be perfect. It would give us the chance to see these characters one last time, and also consider this: how creepy and messed up it would be if, now that he has the power of the Soul King, of God essentially, Yhwach is creating a mimicked version of life based on the portions of his soul that returned to him with every sternritter death previously. And finally, perhaps the craziest, most Hail Mary scenario is actually a very old fan theory from the days of the manga. What if the Zero Division somehow returned instead? The last time we saw Ichibei, he was ominously referring to peace under Yhwach, and many people once believed that the Zero Division would be essentially forced to serve whoever was the Soul King at the time. Now, I think we're out of time for this. I have no idea how they would fit this into the Cour, to be honest, hence why it's here at the very end of the video, but I certainly wouldn't mind getting the chance to see these guys fight once more, and hell, maybe even get another Zero Division bankai. Truth be told though, I think their time in the story is done for now. Like I said earlier, if the anime adapts Can't Fear Your Own World's prologue, then we might get to see Ichibei resurrecting them himself, but that's probably about it. Anyway, that's it for the video, guys. Exciting times lie ahead, with Kubo teasing that we're gonna see entire episodes of the final Cour made up of totally new anime original content. Well, there is a lot on the docket here. There is a lot that we could potentially be about to see. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of my list of events that I think we could see in the 1000 Year Blood War Arc Part 4, The Calamity? Entirely brand new scenarios, fights, bankai, everything like that, and how likely I think these individual scenarios are. How do you feel about that? Do you agree with me? Is there something I completely missed from this video? Potentially, there probably is. There's quite a lot we all want to see at the end of the day, so do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. But that's it from me, guys. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you took some value away from it as well. If you haven't done already, make sure to check out my full review of the 1000 Year Blood War Arc Part 3 and the full comprehensive 40 episode ranking to be found within. And consider checking out my second channel, Mr. Tomo Talks Games, giving it a subscribe if you like what you see over there, if you see value in it, if you enjoy it. I really would appreciate the support there too. And as always, I want to end this video by saying a massive thank you and giving a huge shout out to my wonderful supporters over on Patreon, who really do make a massive difference, especially around January where YouTube ad revenue kind of collapses a little bit. So if you do like what I do here over on YouTube and you want to take support for me another step further, thank you very much. At the $1 tier a month, you get your name in the credits of every single video just like this one. At the $2 tier or higher, you can enjoy every single one of my videos absolutely free of baked-in YouTube ads. Alright guys, once again, thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.